Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper questions about baseball, the Saints, sports, or just life in general. This week, George has some interesting comments for us about the incredible play of Ryan Lashley. We're going to learn a little bit about what George thinks about changes that should go on in the NFL. And George will have some interesting tidbits for us about what's going on with the Saints in general. So let's get right to Strike Zone. All right, so we want to welcome back George this week. So, George, let's first of all just get an update on some of your injuries. I noticed that Ian Gack has not been playing. Is he hurt again, or what is his status?
Yeah, he got hurt in Gary. He hurt his hamstring running, going to go from first to third. So he's on the DL. He's eligible to come off the DL on Thursday, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I guess we'll just see. We'll just see how it is over the next few days.
It's just one of those things, because of the lead that you have, you're able to give him a few extra days to try to recoup on that, or he just needs this extra time?
He needs the extra time, no doubt. This isn't. I know I've put a lot of guys on the DL this year, mostly pitchers that weren't hurt. But the position players I put on the DL, every one of them has been hurt, and he definitely needs the 7 days. And I don't know if it's going to be 7 days, if it's going to be 10 days, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. I'm really not sure. We'll have a little clearer picture on Wednesday when we get back home.
Steve Nicorak appeared back for you. This came off the disabled list. How have you felt about his performance so far?
He's back in there like nothing even happened, and he hits the balls hard, and he's staying right in there, and made some nice plays. And it's too bad last night too. Obviously, his first trip back to Fargo, and his first at bat, he killed the ball to right center when a lot of days would have been a home run, but the wind was kind of blowing across and kind of knocked it down a little bit. But he is fine, and it's good to have him back, and he can be a valuable guy for us as he can play multiple positions.
It seems good to have him back, too, because he gives you the availability to give Anthony Phillips a day off or two.
Absolutely, yes, and we did give Phillips a day off the other day, a couple of days ago in Gary. So he's played, pretty much every game. So it was good to give him some time off.
Sam Moss, what's his status at the moment?
I think he had a minor setback. The wrist, it's still sore. He's been hitting and stuff for the last week, but it still feels a little pain in there, and so even the last couple of days he has not hit now because we're trying to make sure he's 100%. I honestly don't know when we'll be activating him. And it could be days, it could be weeks. It's just a tough injury, and you just don't know how that one's going to play out.
And what is the status of Mike Zuzalik now? Is the side better, or does he need a few?
Yeah, he's good. He's fine. He's activated, and he's ready to go. And I mean, we almost brought him in the last 2 nights, but it's just when the starting pitchers throw 8 good innings, we didn't bring him in last night, and we almost brought him in the night before, but then we scored a bunch of runs, I believe in the 7th inning, so we sat him down. But now he's ready, and I mean, he should be in there tonight.
I wanted to ask you, before we get into these questions, kind of the sports psychology kind of question. You guys have won 17 of the 19 series you've had this season. The other 2 you tied so far. So a completely undefeated series-wise kind of season so far. I frequently hear like media people say something like, let's say a football team is 13-0, and they'll say something like, well, it'd be good if they lost a game right now because it would kind of get them refocused on winning and tasting defeat, so they know they don't want to get that again. Is that really how teams look at things? Because that seems kind of like couch potato psychology to me. How do you think about that?
I understand what they're saying. I don't think that way, and I guess maybe if you get a little too overconfident or a little too cocky when you're doing well, then maybe at that point, if something like that happened, then maybe it'd be a little wake-up call. But not with our team, though. I don't think we're like that. I think we guys play the game the right way, and they are confident, but you need to be confident to play. But But no, we don't want that to happen. We don't want to go on a losing streak and then have to snap out of it. We don't want to do that. And, but I understand the thought process in that question, and it's like, again, if maybe the teams are a little too overconfident, then okay, then maybe that's not the worst thing to happen. But with this team, nope, we just want to keep winning.
So it's the kind of thing when a team believes they're unbeatable and walks it with a certain arrogance, it's good for them to see that they are beatable, to get them.
Yeah, you know what? Once in a while, I guess if anything you do, even playing when you're younger and coming up, and you know, if you fail once in a while, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world because it'll make you better. So you don't want it to happen, but at times it does happen, and when it does, then you deal with it. But hopefully it doesn't happen.
Thank you for that explanation. Let us get on to this week's question. Steve from St. Paul asks, wow, that Ryan Lashley is really having a great season for you so far. Where did you find this guy?
You know, he started the season in Lincoln, got off to a slow start, then he hurt his hamstring and missed about a month. And I mean, we were, with all the injuries we had in the infield, we were desperate for an infielder, and we just happened to be in Lincoln, and I guess that's when he had just been released, but and he happened to stick around because he had the hamstring injury, and we worked him out. He swung the bat well, and we were going to sign him, but his hamstring still wasn't good. So we just told him to go home, and when he gets 100%, let me know. And a couple of weeks went by, and he got better, and we brought him in, and this is just a player that's just taking advantage of the opportunity. He's swinging the bat real well. He's got some big hits for us. The ball jumps off his bat pretty good when he hits it. And he's been pretty clutch for us in the short time he's been with us, and he's hit a couple offensive home runs, and he's shown some juice. He's shown some power the other way, and so this has been a good acquisition so far, and hopefully he can keep it going.
Playing some good quality third base for you too.
Yes, he's done a good job over there, and and like you and I have talked all year. We've played good defense all year long, all the way around. So you play good defense, it just makes you better.
Tony from Minneapolis asks, Willie Argo has been stealing a lot more bases lately. Is that by design, or is that as part of the game plan?
A few guys have a green light to steal, and he's a smart base runner. He's an excellent base runner. He just picks the right spots, and he has a green light. He can steal when he wants, and I believe he's been caught stealing once all season. I believe that's what it is.
That's correct.
That just shows you a good, smart base runner. And I think the time he got caught stealing, he was trying to steal third base, and because the third baseman was a little bit over in the hole, and he just tried to beat him there, and it just didn't work out. But he's just a smart base runner, and I wouldn't be surprised when the season ended if he had 40 stolen bases.
Wow. Mike from Duluth wonders, he notices that in independent baseball, he doesn't see as many guys take third when there's a base hit or score from second base on a base hit to the outfield. Is this more a product of the outfielders playing closer to the plate or guys not being as fast?
I'm going to go with guys aren't as fast. I think guys, we try to go first to third, but when you don't have too many fast guys, you probably can't do it. So I'm just going to go with, on this one, if the guys aren't as quick. But obviously with the faster guys, they're going to do it. And you know what? We have three pretty good outfitters, too. And our guys have thrown some guys out of third base, too. So if guys have tried it against us, our outfitters, all three of them, I'll take any of those guys. They're excellent outfitters, and they come get the ball hard. And Kwasnicka, the other day, there was a ball that was, he looks forward to throwing guys out. He hustles. He comes in so good for those balls to try to throw those guys out of third base, and he did it the other day in Gary. And so you better be fast enough if you're going to try it. And again, I just think maybe guys aren't as fast, but our outfitters are pretty good out there. Even
when you fill in with Angelo Sanko and Mitch Elliott, they seem to be holding guys from trying to take that extra base as well.
Absolutely, yes. They've done a good job out there as well. And Mitch is a good outfielder. And, obviously Sanko's a first baseman. We put him out there a little bit, and he's not as fast as the other guys, but he tracks the ball as well, and he does a good job out there, too.
Tom from Farmington wonders, when one of your starters wins a game and gets ahead of the others in, let's say, ERA or wins, do you use that to motivate the other guys, like tell Kramer Sneed, or let's say Kramer Sneed won a game, do you go to the other guys and say, hey, are you going to catch this guy?
I don't say anything to them. These guys challenge each other, and it just seems like whoever goes out there, goes out there and throws 6-7 quality innings, and it's nice what they're doing. And but I don't say anything to them. And they all support each other too. They're right there for each other. And those 5 starters we have, they're all great guys, and they all care about the other guy. And they all go out there usually and put up a quality start.
When you're leading a team by a lot of runs in a game and you continue to score, I'm kind of curious what the attitude is in the dugout. This is the question that we have here. Do you feel kind of bad? I'm looking at like the 18-2 game you had against Gary a couple of nights ago. Is there a point where you're up like 12-2 where you're like, okay, now this is enough kind of thing? How does that work?
No, not really. You never feel bad. And I mean, because I've been on both ends of it. I've been on the side where we're getting our butts kicked too. And it's our job to go out there and score as many runs as we can and swing the bats well. And obviously the mood's good in the dugout, but you never want to embarrass the other team. And then when you're on that end of it, you don't want to be embarrassed either. So you just go out there and play the game the right way. And it's our job to keep going and keep swinging it. And when we're losing by a bunch, it's their job to keep swinging it and score as many runs as they can.
Going back to a question from last week that you wanted to bring back in for this week. So Ken from Woodbury asks, he hears that you're a big football fan, so what changes would you make to the NFL?
Okay, I did think about this one, and this is an easy one, and I would think 99% of the people in the world would agree with this. I don't see how, I just don't get it. But the Calvin Johnson rule, that rule needs to be changed. Obviously we saw what happened last year in the playoffs with Des Bryant and the Cowboys, and I'm not a Cowboy fan at all, and I don't care if they ever win a game ever again. But that play when Des Bryant caught that ball and went down and stretched and tried to reach in for the touchdown, and they ruled it incomplete. I think common sense needs to take over in this, and how is that not a catch? I know what the rule book says, blah, blah, but that rule should be changed, and I don't understand how anybody in the world would not agree with that. And I don't know if you remember the Calvin Johnson rule when it all started a few years ago against the Bears. He was actually getting up from when he scored. He was standing up, threw the ball down, and they said he didn't complete the catch. And to me, I'll never ever understand it. And every Cowboy fan out there should be very angry about that call. And I guess technically they got the call right, but why don't they change the rule and make it a common sense rule that it is a catch?
On that same subject, did you see this week there was a guy who caught a ball, I think it was in Fenway Park. He actually made 2 steps with the ball before he hit into the wall and fell over the wall, and the ball fell out of his glove, and that was ruled a home run because he didn't...
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the highlight of it, and I saw the 2 steps as well, too, and I was surprised when I heard they changed it. I didn't see the game. I just saw it once real quick, so I really don't know why it was ruled a home run because he took 2 steps, right? And, that's a rule that should be a common sense one as well, shouldn't it? He caught it, took 2 steps and fell over. It's not like it, the time I hit Canseco in the head and bounced over. I don't know the thought process on it. Again, I only saw it real quick. We were on the bus, and I saw the highlight real quick, and it just wouldn't that make sense that it should be a catch?
I thought so too, and from what I understand, it was actually ruled a catch at first until instant replay looked at it, and they ruled the exact same kind of Calvin Johnson rule, which is that he didn't carry the process to the ground. And I thought,
okay, well, guess what? You know what? Well, maybe it should be changed. Maybe the Calvin Johnson rule should be changed in all sports. I just don't. It's common sense, but sometimes that's not the way the world works.
Very true. Sam from Anoka would like to know what did you think made your splitter work for you?
Some days it was good, some days it wasn't, and you just can't sit there and throw that every time. You have to throw up a strike at times, and because if you just always throwing it down in the dirt where you're hoping they chase it, then it's going to lay off it. And I realized that coming up the minors, the higher you go, the better hitters they are, and they'll lay off it more the higher you go. But you have to throw for strikes at times. You have to throw your fastball for strikes. You have to throw all your pitches for strikes, and it's just the higher you go, though, the better those hitters are, and they'll lay off it. And you throw some good ones, and they just spit on it like, I'm not swinging at that. And that's why it's called the big leagues.
Sarah from Crystal has a couple of questions for you. First, she asked, what was your favorite ballpark to play in as a player?
Oh, not even close. The old Yankee Stadium, without a doubt, is the greatest place out there. And the first time you walk in there and you see that place, and you can't even believe all the players that have played in that stadium, and that is one beautiful place. So it was a beautiful place, and there's some beautiful stadiums around, back then, and beautiful places to play. But just the history there, and it's Yankee Stadium, and all the guys that played there, and without a doubt, not even close to the old Yankee Stadium.
Sarah also asked, was the Metrodome really as bad as it's made out to be?
Absolutely not. I thought the Metrodome was excellent. It was talk about home field advantage. That's a great place. Home field advantage, baseball, football too, especially with that place, and even in the baseball in the playoffs, it's so loud in there. It's I know Target Field's great, and it's great where they are, but I'm one that doesn't. I don't have a problem with the Metrodome. I thought it was great, and there's no rain delays. It's not too hot in there. It's not too cold in there. Well, maybe sometimes a little too cold, but it's a tough place to pitch because the ball was flying through the turf. And there were times where you lose ball in the ceiling, in the white ceiling. But I thought the Metrodome was excellent for baseball and football, and again, that home field advantage was as good as anybody's had.
Yeah, I always thought people kind of forgot what the 87 and 91 World Series were like when the Cardinals were overwhelmed by the noise. It's like, that was
absolutely
a huge advantage.
And it's the home field advantage, and there's no rain delays, and you can't complain about it being too hot. It's perfect. Those are. 'Cause I think we all had. Nobody in the world likes rain delays, and you sit there, and then you go in the clubhouse, and you keep eating, and you know what? That's the one good thing about the Metrodome. No rain delays, and it's not too hot.
A person identifying himself as happy wants to know if you think the Royals getting Johnny Cueto made them a lock for the World Series.
I don't know about the lock, but I think Johnny Cueto is outstanding, and I think that's a great acquisition. Every time you look at Johnny Cueto, he goes out there, pitches 7, 8 innings, 2 runs, maybe 3 runs once in a while, but 8 innings, 1 run. He is outstanding, and that's a great acquisition by them, and they're going to be right there at the end.
Kenny from Woodbury wonders from you what you thought about the Twins not making any moves. I'm assuming he really meant at the trade deadline, and do you think they have enough to pull it out?
Well, obviously, I haven't the last couple of days. I haven't really. Are they still in the? Are they still in the wild card race? Are they still leading it, or
they have the number 2
in the wild card?
Yeah, they have the number 2 spot still.
Yeah, I know they've struggled some lately, but they have a chance, and sometimes that's the way it works. I know the Twins haven't. They don't trade those prospects, for a rental. They usually just go with what they have, and it's working for them this year. And again, I know they're going through a little rough patch here lately, but they can just get back on a winning streak, and you never know in this business. And again, nobody expected the Royals to get into the World Series last year, and I don't see why the Twins can either. Their lineup's good, and their pitchers are fine, and their closer's as good as anybody. And I hope they can pull it out, and hopefully they can get back and get on a little winning streak.
Confused baseball fan wants to know. If he explains that maybe he's not a good student of the game or something, but he doesn't get why Madison Bumgarner is so good. What is it about his stuff that makes him so unhittable to you? He doesn't see him like Kershaw or Verlander. So how do you think that Madison Bumgarner does so well?
I don't know. He's don't know. It's just maybe arm angle. It's a different look and his location. He hits his spots. He doesn't leave the ball over the middle of the plate. And I don't know, different arm angles. It's just maybe he's on top of you quicker. That's just like, that guy's as good as anybody. And I guess you don't have to throw 95 miles per hour to be successful. You just got to know what you're doing, change speeds, and just leave the ball off the middle of the plate. And he hits his spots pretty good and changes speeds, and he's as good as they come.
Nobody thought Greg Maddux had that great of stuff either, but he won 300.
Yeah, well, Greg Maddux, yeah, you're right. And Greg Maddux, with that movement he had on those sinkers he threw, there was so much movement on his balls. And, Bumgarner he's just a different guy, and it's a different arm angle, and it's just a different look.
After last week's show, Todd from Arden Hills says he's in agreement with you that most people should shut up. Is there someone you really like to listen to speak, though?
You know what I like? And then people get a kick out of it, but he doesn't speak much. I love listening to Bill Belichick. His answers are, he's all business. He just wants to go out there and win games, and he doesn't want to deal with all the other stuff. And his interviews are actually laughable watching them because he's not going to give anybody anything. And that's what I believe. Go about your business the right way. Keep your mouth shut. Keep it quiet. And you can tell he's not a fan of doing the interviews, but his answers are funny sometimes. And I really like him. And obviously he's an excellent coach. People can say all they want about all that other stuff, but for some reason he finds ways to get it done, and good quarterbacks he holds down, and that's the guy that I really enjoy listening to talk, and his teams are always good.
Wow, you might be the first person I ever heard said that Bill Belichick was the person they like to listen to. That's awesome.
Well, you know what? Next time he does an interview, just sit there and watch it, and you're going to see his one-word answers, his three-word answers, and you can't help but laugh. He makes his point.
That's great. Larry from Coon Rapids would like to know what it was like to play for Tom Kelly.
He was a good guy to play for. He very intelligent man, and obviously he had the World Series and knew what he was doing. And he's a guy that guys like playing for him too. And he wanted to win too. He was very business, but he had a sense of humor too. But he was out there to win games and not mess around. And one thing too, that's one thing that bugs me today too. It seems like guys are too buddy with the other team, and that's something that he was not a fan of. And during the games, guys laughing with the other team. He was against that kind of stuff, and during batting practice, and I agree with him. Guys are too buddy during the games. You want to go out with the guy after the game and have a dinner with him, have a drink, fine. But once you get on the field, back off and go talk to your own team. I totally agree with Tom Kelly on that one.
Our last question for this week is that Tammy from Wayzata would like to know what your favorite holiday of the year is.
I'd have to go Thanksgiving because you get to sit there and watch football all day, and you get to eat all day, and who doesn't like Thanksgiving? The turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, and you get to watch football all day, and that's what I do. The TV never goes off, and so that is my favorite. And who wouldn't like that?
It's a great day for everybody, for sure, except for the person cooking.
Yep.
That's the only person that
that's
matters.
true. Yeah, that person's tough.
All right, George. Well, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Okay, no problem. Take care.
All right, bye. We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have them to us by Friday at noon, so the skipper has a couple of days to review the questions before we record our show on Sunday. If you find that a question has been asked by you but wasn't included in the show, sometimes the skipper decides to leave those questions out for personal reasons, or if he feels that they're not really appropriate for him to answer. I want to thank you, though, for joining us here this week. I am Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we look forward to seeing you next week here on Strike Zone.